What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of our 2022 NBA Draft Player Breakdown series. In today's series, we're going to be talking about Jabari Smith and giving a little bit of analysis of his game and a projection for where he will go in this year's 2022 NBA Draft. So Jabari Smith Jr. is a 6'10", 220-pound power forward. He's a freshman this year at Auburn. In 34 games, he averaged 16.9 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 2 assists per game. He did this while shooting 42.9% from the field, and he shot 42% from 3 on 5.5 3-point attempts per game. Shot 80% from the free throw line. He also averaged 1.1 steals per game and 1 block per game, while only averaging 1.9 turnovers per game. Jabari Smith is a projected top 3 draft pick in this year's NBA draft. Let's go ahead and look at some of his strengths. So looking at some of the strengths of Jabari Smith Jr., one of the biggest things about him is that he's super wiry, super long, 6'10", kind of stretch 4, kind of small forward. Like I said, stretch 4. This gives him the ability to really shoot over defenders and be effective at all 3 levels. And I think that's one of the biggest things and biggest strengths of his game, is that he's effective at all 3 levels. He can shoot the catch and shoot 3. He can pull up from mid-range off the dribble. He's super effective and one of the best off the dribble shooters in college basketball this year. He can also post up, has a pretty good turnaround jump shot in the post. He can finish with both hands in the post and around the hoop. And he really is just effective at all 3 levels. He can score the ball. That's one of the best things about his game, is that he's a scorer on the offensive side, and he can really do that from all 3 levels as a result of his size. And one of the biggest things is he can shoot the 3 ball, so people have to guard him out at the 3-point line. He shot 42% on 5.5 attempts per game, in college. He also shot 43% from the 2-point field, and also shot 80% from the free throw line. So he can really, he can score it at all levels. He can get to the free throw line with 4.8 attempts per game and knocks him down at 80%. And with that size, his jump shot, he can just shoot over top of defenders and be extremely, extremely effective. Then kind of looking at another strength of his, but on the defensive side of the ball, is that he's extremely versatile. He can really guard 1 through 5, especially 1 through 4 extremely well. Can switch out on the guards. He can use his length and use his pretty good lateral quickness to his advantage and be able to guard multiple positions. Can, like I said, stay with guards. He can guard bigger players in the post, especially 4s. I think he can switch on to 5s a little bit. He will have to develop some more size and strength once he gets into the NBA to be able to defend 5s a little bit easier, but he's got extremely long arms. He's got actually pretty good, quickness and lateral quickness for the defensive end to stay with guards. He's got a pretty high IQ. And another thing about him is he's got a really high motor. He's always seeming to play as hard as he can, just continually giving max effort. And I think that's something that NBA scouts really love to see, is that effort, that motor. That's something that you can't really teach, but that just some players have. And I think Jabari Smith Jr. Really has that high motor and that will to just work as hard as he can and just make plays. So he's extremely versatile, both offensively and defensively. He can guard multiple positions. He can play multiple positions on the offensive side. And then the biggest thing or biggest strength of his, in my opinion, is the fact that at 6'10", he can shoot off the dribble. He can shoot, catch, and shoot. He can get to the line. He can finish at the hoop. He's just really, really effective at all 3 levels. And he also does it at an efficient rate. So I think that that's a huge plus side for him. And I think there's not a whole lot of weaknesses in his game, but we'll go ahead and talk about some of his weaknesses now. Like I had mentioned before this, I don't feel like Jabari Smith Jr. really has a whole lot of weaknesses in his game, but there are a few things that he does need to improve on at the NBA level and continue to work on. And one of those things is to add strength to his body and to his game, allow him to play more physical around the rim, allow him to guard bigger players and centers at the NBA level. So I think he just really needs to focus on his body a little bit more here once he gets to the NBA, continue to build strength and add some more physicality to his game. Another thing that I think he needs to improve on is his ball handling and just being a better ISO guy. a lot of times he just settled for tough jump shots, settled for tough, step back jump shots. I think that he can improve on his ball handling and kind of his shiftiness a little bit, and be just a little bit more of an ISO guy in certain situations, because we know in the NBA level there's a lot of late shot clock situations where he's going to have to ISO and make a play for himself, and it's not always going to be the best shot to settle for a step back jumper with someone right in his face. So I think he could improve on his shiftiness, his ISO, and the ability to just get to the rim at a higher rate and at a better level. I think improving, his ball handling will really help with that. And then kind of the last thing to improve on is continue to improve on his passing and his playmaking for others. He did average two assists per game to 1.9 turnovers. So, as a 6'10 small forward, power forward, that's not terrible. It's not the greatest. But I think he will have to continue to improve on that playmaking and being able to make plays for others. Get into the lane, make the right read, and make the right pass to a kick out three or dropping off to the big guy. Just making those types of reads and being more of a playmaker is another thing that he continued to improve on. So in conclusion, in my opinion, I think Jabari Smith is one of the top players in this year's NBA draft class. I think it's kind of a contest or in the running between him and Chet Holmgren for who should be the number one pick. If it were me, I think I would take Jabari Smith Jr. I think that there's so much that he can do on the court at 6'10". I think he's a little bit more polished right now than a player like Chet Holmgren, where both of the players really have extremely high ceiling. I think that there's a lot of things that they can continue to develop on and develop even more than the skills that they already have and are already very polished at. I think that he has the ability to come into a franchise that clearly isn't in the best state for the fact that they have a first, second, or third round pick in this year's draft. So I think he can come in and help change the dynamic of that team and help lead a NBA team to make a turnaround and have better plays, win more games, and just be a really solid NBA player. I think he's got the work ethic. It seems like he's got the size, he's got the skill. He's got the body, and I think that if he just continues to work and continues to develop, that Jabari Smith might be one of the best players in this year's draft class, and he'll for sure be a top 3 pick. Like I said, I think it's, in my opinion, it's kind of a running between him and Chet Holmgren for who's going to be the first round pick or the first overall pick in this year's draft. Obviously, you have Paolo Banchero in that conversation, but if it were me, I would take Jabari Smith. So I want to hear from all you guys in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on Jabari Smith? Should he be the number 1 overall pick? Is he going to be second? Is he going to be third? Leave all that in the comment section down below. And make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.